He's looking my wife on the sock.
He is kind of dressed unusually down today.
He sure is.
Yes, a little bit.
He must be painting in his office.
He might. He just might be.
He looks colorful, don't
He does.
Yes, he is.
Well,
very-
Easter is coming.
He is springish. He is very springish.
Easter is coming.
Yeah.
He must be high need.
he? He's got to set the example for the less fashionably inclined.
Yeah.
But he's sitting on the same side of the room as Curtis over there. That's
Yeah, well, he's celebrating Easter a little early.
Well, me and Barkley don't have none.
We're over a month away from Easter.
Their dress code.
Yeah, but it looks nice.
As always.
Well, tonight is the action performance.
Okay.
Margaritaville.
Okay, you already got sleeves rolled up ready.
So you get prepared for that one?
Hey, got his margarita and everything.
Yeah.
You'll be there.
You gotta go back upstairs, Jeff. I just feel like, yeah.
I need to get to a SEAC play. I hadn't been to.
Yeah.
You've been to Concord, Georgia, and seen him.
That weather
I've heard
change.
about it.
That's
Yeah.
what.
I think each time. You know, and
It's
it's
this time of the year, it does.
I have to stay on my
Shadow water.
that Zyrtec stuff like that, you know, all the time during this time of year. It's 10 o'clock. All right, it's 10 o'clock, so we'll call this administrative meeting to order. I want to welcome everybody for being here today. Pleasure to see everybody again. Let's see, any announcements or comments from the commission before we get started? I just got back from Washington, had a good trip. Got a visit with representatives of our senators, not senators themselves. And I did get to visit with Barry Moore. I mentioned this to the sheriff. I told this to Commissioner Ivey, but it looks like the earmark that we had for the radio tower project is probably not going to be funded, unfortunately. So their last update I got, which was it's been a few months ago, they didn't anticipate any problems with the budget. But at this point, it looks like they're going to fund the remainder of the fiscal year with a continuing resolution. And what that means to us is any earmarks or congressionally designated spending will likely not get funded. So it's unfortunate for us, but did talk to Congressman Moore about our needs in law enforcement. Got a very good response there. Obviously, no promises made, but felt that the request was well received, and we'll see what happens. Of course, he can do all he can, but at the end of the day, they still have to pass a budget, and sometimes that is easier said than done. We'll see. They also, Peter, just so you know, there's an effort to remove the tax exempt status of municipal bonds. So I made sure that would be a bad move for us as it relates, especially as it relates to the upcoming jail expansion project. We're looking at borrowing anywhere from 25 to $50 million, and the interest that we would pay on that would become taxable potentially. The investors are going to require, number one, there's going to be less demand for that. And then number two, they're going to require a higher interest rate because they didn't have to pay taxes on it. So I made sure that would negatively impact our citizens. So we will see how things go. But not any questions or comments. We'll move on into the proposed agenda. We have one item under awards and presentations, and that is a proclamation honoring Providence Christian Schools basketball team, their first ever state title in basketball. I understand they have some very good players on that team. And so it'll be exciting to see the young athletes and get them in here and honor them. Any objection to placing that item on the agenda?
No objection.
Okay. And then item number 1 under the regular agenda is a request to fill vacancies for the Industrial Development Authority of Houston, Henry, Geneva, and Dale counties. We have our counselor with us today, and Press, I know we didn't talk about this, but why don't you just come up and kind of give us an update as to why we're going to be filling all these vacancies. Give us the backstory.
Gentlemen, the IDA has at this point now all 4 of those counties involved in one IDA. It originally started with just Houston County. Houston County has, I believe, 7 board members on this board. And so as we've added on, we've maintained those 7. And so these positions rotate on 6 years, but they all come on and off at once. And so the request is going to be for the commission to reappoint or approve that slate of, I believe it's 7 board members. We've gotten the names, but they've all been vetted, requested, and they've all said, yes, they'd be willing to serve.
Thank you. And the names these are all names that have been on the IDA, and they're going to be reappointed, subject to the commission's approval. That is Bob Woodall, Bobby Hughes, David Parsons, Harrison Morse, James Pouncey, Lori Wilcoxon, and Vilma Tribune. So any questions or comments on this item? Any objection to placing this item on the agenda?
No objection.
Okay. Item number 2 is a request to adopt resolution approving a proposed amendment to the Articles of Incorporation of the Dothan Houston County Intellectual Disabilities Board. I asked Mr. Alan Livingston, to come up and give us all the information we need to know about this
Sure.
item. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, gentlemen. Good to be here. You probably don't know this organization as the Intellectual Disabilities Board. You probably know it as Von Bloomberg Services. Okay. And as you may be aware, you appoint this commission appoints members, board members, and I've been a board member there for many years. The city commission also appoints board members. We are needing to amend our articles of incorporation to expand our service area due to changes from the Alabama Department of Mental Health on the way they allocate persons to be served at Von Bloomberg Services. Peter Covert's on our board too, and he can tell you this, it's a complicated change, and I can go through all that if you need it, but this is a change that the State Department recommended to us to expand our service area so we can take persons to be served outside of Houston County, which our current articles limit us just to Houston County.
Gotcha.
So we need to make that change because the Department of Mental Health has changed their policies.
Gotcha.
So that's what it's about. The city's already done it. The Department of Mental Health has approved the change. And so we need to get the county commission to approve this change too. I hope does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Okay.
Any questions for Mr. Livingston? No. All right. Any objection to placing this item on the agenda?
No objection.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Very much so. Item number 3 is a request to adopt resolution authorizing the allocation of American Rescue Plan Act local assistance and tribal consistency funds to serve a governmental purpose. Mr. Covert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, as you undoubtedly are aware, part of the ARPA funds was the awarding of this LATCF fund, which is $100,000 that is tantamount to the revenue replacement monies. But still, in order for these monies to be dispersed, a resolution needs to be passed by the commission as according to federal guidelines. In this particular instance, this is to aid the town of Gordon with several of their projects.
I think that's the, excuse me, I think that's the next item. This is the first one.
Oh, it's out of order.
Yeah, sorry. This is I believe the generator
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that correction. This has to do with we found during a recent emergency event that there was a pinch point in our backup systems for our communication originating out of our IT department. And so this is allocating some of the LATCF funds toward the specialized backup battery for that IT server. And it will also be able to serve some of the ancillary activity inside this building. It won't run the AC, it won't run the elevators, but it will have power to the outlets and it will have power to the phones, as well as the IT server. But in order to be able to alleviate any sort of a failure point for our communication during an emergency event, this is this was recommended as an important acquisition for the county. And this is a request to use some of the LATCF funds, which is an allowable expense for the use of these funds, according to the federal guidelines, for the purposes of supporting the county in the event of an emergency.
And Directors Dixon and Hollis, do y'all have anything you want to add to that? I know, Tommy, we looked at this, I guess, a couple of different ways. Originally, we were going to wire into the generator on the sheriff's department. And then what Tommy come to me, I guess it's been a couple of months ago, and said that actually it's going to be more affordable if we just buy our own generator for this building versus having to run conduit, is that the right word, through the, wherever it goes, through the sheriff's, to the sheriff's department generator. Is that accurate? Is that, okay.
So this request is for the battery backup system in the building for the IT system. The generator will be
Another.
a second request
Gotcha.
once
Okay.
we get the quotes in on
Okay.
that
Well, thank you
aspect.
for that clarification. I was a little bit confused on that. So, okay, well, good. All right, any other questions or discussion on this item?
No, sir.
Okay. Any objection to placing this item on the agenda?
No objection.
All right, item number 4 is a request to adopt resolution for local assistance and tribal consistency fund to approve funding agreement with the town of Gordon. So I know we have, they have, I'll just be frank for a few minutes, they have asked for assistance for a couple of different projects over the last few years, and we've just never been able to find anything that would fit in our wheelhouse. Certainly anything that, you know, we do for some cities with certain budget funds, we kind of feel obligated to do for everybody, and that really puts a hamper on what we're capable of doing. But they have been asking for assistance on several different things, and in discussions with the mayor, I talked to Peter and try to find some funds that we could do something with the town of Gordon. And certainly they have a tremendous amount of need out there. And one of the needs is a need for a new storage building. I think every one of us at some point has been to the senior center out there to visit, and they have issues with storage. They're using a kind of a large utility closet for storage, and that is out of compliance with certain things, and I don't really understand all that. But anyway, so they need some funds for a building, and they're going to do some improvements to, I think, one of their parks. So this proposal will allocate $40,000 of our LATCF funds to the town of Gordon to purchase and acquire specifically those things. And you know, we've been able to do some things with the other towns with some of the other ARPA funds, and we were not able to do anything with Gordon. I know they've kind of gone through some issues, but this would be something that we could do for the town of Gordon, and I would I'm fully in support of this measure. And I think it's time for us to have an impact in the town of Gordon. So, any questions on this item? Or any discussion? Any objection to place this item on the agenda?
No objection.
Okay. Item number 5 is a request to approve a report of purchase of real property related to bike trail project pursuant to Alabama Code 9-15-100. So, Council, I'll ask you to come up and explain why we're having to do this.
Gentlemen, you have a packet of documents here that has a report and then several exhibits. 2021, I believe, is when this project started. It has taken a while because we had to go and survey. We had to get authority to go onto lands, figure out correct routes. But I'm happy to announce that we have acquired the property necessary to move forward with construction of this bike trail project between ACOM and the town of Cowarts. The law, Alabama Code 9-15-100 requires the county commission to let the public know in the report the acquisition of real property and certain items related to it. What was the amount paid, any appraisals done, terms of contracts, all those fun things. And so this report has been prepared for you. This would cover all of the items required under 9-15-100. You simply need to have it approved, and then it will be in the minutes, and then it also will need to be published on the county commission's website. Again, this is just a requirement under the code section law, but I think more important for you guys to know is that this has been a lot of effort. Your chairman has done an excellent job on this. This is a lot of hard work, but we've gotten to a point now where we've gotten the property ready and we can move forward with actually construction and all the things that goes along with that for the bike trail.
Yeah, thank you. So I saw a quote recently, and it really hit home as it relates to this bike trail. I forget whose quote it was. It says, "We do this not because it's easy, but because we thought it would be easy." And that certainly describes this bike trail project. We started this in 2021, and we thought by 2022 we'd be beginning construction. That, as you can tell, that has not been the case. Anytime you have to acquire property, basically a line in the sand through multiple property owners' properties, it's problematic. One minor correction, so we are not able to start construction just yet. This is phase one of what will essentially be a 2 or 3 part acquisition process. So this, and we'll publish this on the website, but this acquires property that sort of starts at a railroad and gets to property that's owned by the town of Cowarts. So, in another phase, we'll need to sign an agreement with the town of Cowarts to construct a part of the trail on their property. And then we also still need to acquire some property between the ACOM trail and this railroad track. So we're unfortunately probably still looking at a few years at least before we're able to start construction. There's a tremendous amount of, we're going to have to buy this property. And one of the things that's made this process so slow is we have to buy it in a way that we can use grant money to actually build the trail. And so there's an enormous amount of regulatory red tape that we have to jump through. As the council alluded to, we have to have it surveyed, we have to have it appraised, that appraisal has to be reviewed. Then you got to come to an agreement with the property owner, which is sometimes easier said than done. But the reason for that is that the federal government doesn't want to fund a trail that's been constructed on land that's been sort of acquired at a below market rate from private property owners. So every parcel that we have purchased is at or above the market rate. So every property owner has been well compensated. So any questions on this item? Any objection to placing this item on the agenda?
No objection.
Thank you very much, Councilor. Item number 6 is a request to approve budget amendment in the amount of $6,050 for Smart Fusion personnel module. Mr. Covert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we get closer and closer to the implementation of the Smart Fusion software that the commission has approved, we realized that there were some pieces that are necessary that weren't in the original agreement. And most notably, this piece is to assist in the personnel tracking ability for Smart Fusion. Smart Fusion used to have what we call position control report module in the past, but they've discontinued that. It wasn't available to be purchased. We thought we could work through that, but unfortunately, there's going to be data that's in our existing system that we would otherwise lose when we migrate over to Smart Fusion that is necessary for personnel to be able to effectively, efficiently do their work. The alternative to this is hiring people to data load that, temporary people to data load that information in so that we can keep up with it. But that, as you might well be aware, is fraught with potential human error, and we need to make sure that this data is correct. So probably half, I'm guessing, half of this amount is for the data pull information so that we know that it's clean and it maps over correctly into Smart Fusion so that personnel can feel comfortable to be able to perform the duties that they have responsibilities of.
Yeah, this has been a big project, and ultimately we exist to collect tax dollars and to spend it in a way that we think is most efficient. So this is the core of what we do, and we've been running on a homebrewed system for decades. And as we continue to modernize Houston County's government, this has been a big lift on our staff, and certainly we've run into some roadblocks. It's been extremely stressful, but I think our staff has done an exemplary job of working through some of those issues. Some of those issues at some certain points in time seem insurmountable. So they've done a great job. I know the transition, I believe, is starting this week. So please be patient with the staff.
Yes.
Hopefully the staff will be patient with each other because this is going to be a stressful time. But on the other side of this, we're going to be much more efficient, and our data will be much better off.
I got a question.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, sir, Commissioner.
There we go. Smart Fusion, who owns that? Is it the same company that owns the other? Is it Harrison?
It is Harris, yes, sir.
It is Harris?
It is Harris, but it's a different division.
Okay,
They don't really, I shouldn't say this with total conviction, but they don't seem to communicate between those two divisions very well. We at some point are going to have to discontinue our arrangement with Harris. I think it's costing us about 700.
I guess with that side of Harris?
Yeah,
Okay,
we'll have to discontinue. It's costing us about $770 a month for sort of the service on the Harris. That will eventually go away once we're comfortable that we have everything out of that system that we need. We'll still be able to access the historical data. So we're going to maintain that, I think it's called RVI, ability to pull documents out of the old system, but it's not going to be an operating system. It'll just be sort of a storage, a filing cabinet.
so personnel is on board with the Smart Fusion?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other key to this is, you may have heard us talk about Time Clocks Plus or TCP. That is integrated into Smart Fusion. So it's no longer sort of a separately operating system. It's going to be some transition, as the chairman had said. It's going to be some new learnings on timekeeping, but the timekeeping and the payroll needs to integrate effectively in order to be able to make sure that things flow for the county.
Right, okay. Well, my one concern that I do have, and it's something that's going on now, but about the W-2s.
Yes,
There's several W-2s that have not been, I say completed. The first one that came out was wrong.
correct.
And now the second one's is, some of the others, and we still have not got those W-2s yet, or a lot of county employees hadn't. So I just want to ask too, was it the same owners? Was it the same? I understand it's probably different. I guess you'd say software or something that they've come up with on different things with Smart Fusion and the other, but it's just a concern that we need to, I just want to make sure that we're not going to have the same issue with W-2s with this one as we are now.
Well, I can't guarantee, of
Right.
course, but the issue with the W-2s has to do with Alabama's overtime rule, not federal, not anyone. It's just Alabama has said that overtime is non-taxable. So you have a situation where federally it's taxable. In Alabama, it's not, so it's got to be
Right.
bifurcated in some way so that the individual employee knows how to report it on their Alabama tax return and their federal tax return appropriately, correctly.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's all I need. Thank you very much.
Good question. Any update on the W-2 issue? Do you know?
I don't have an update.
Yeah, I tried to get in touch with Sherry, but I know down there
They're
under
running
gun this week.
sideways. It's
So
been in place, so they're,
we'll try to get an update to the commission as soon as we can.
yes.
Sorry. Any objection or any other questions? I'm sorry. Any objection to placing this item on the agenda?
No, Judge.
Item number 7 is a request to approve budget amendment in the amount of $8,692.70 for automobile repairs reimbursable by the liability self-insurance fund. Questions on this? I think this is a vehicle that I'm assuming we received insurance reimbursement for, and so we got the money, so now we have to increase the budget. Any objection to placing this item on the agenda?
No, Judge.
Anything else to be considered by the commission at the meeting on Monday? Hearing no other items, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you.